This is what the infinite banking concept's about. It's not about any tools. It's about controlling the process of your cash flow.
Today's guest is one of those people. Chey is part of our growing American advisor team, and he represents what I believe is the next generation of leadership in the movement here at Ascendant Financial.
What if you could set up your own personalized banking system? How can I get to the closest mountaintop that I can get a megaphone and scream this to the masses to say, you guys need to understand this concept? It's been something I had been looking for my whole life and didn't even realize it existed. I knew instantly that I was where I was supposed to be.
All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Jayson Lowe, and Richard Canfield is your co-host today. And today's episode is a pretty special one because every so often, someone steps onto our team with a mix of hunger and humility and heart that reminds Richard and I of exactly why we do what we do. And today's guest is one of those people. Chey is part of our growing American advisor team, and he represents what I believe is the next generation of leadership in the movement here at Ascendant Financial. And he's not just leaned into the infinite banking concept, but he's helping other people live it. And what I've seen in my experience with him is that he's getting really, really good at turning the knowledge of the process into confidence, and confidence into impact for the families that he's working hard to serve. And so in today's conversation, it's going to be great. You'll hear Chey's story, what led him here, what drives him, and how he's already helping people across America take control of their money and implement this amazing process, the infinite banking concept. So settle in, and you're about to meet one of the rising stars that's shaping the future of the Ascendant team. And so, Chey, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Jayson, for having me. And it was such a great intro, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
This concept has really changed my life. It's funny because it's been something I had been looking for my whole life and didn't even realize it existed. And I know that a lot of people I meet say, "Man, I really wish I would have found this sooner." And I want to say the same thing. I kind of wish I would have found this 20 years ago, but 20 years ago I would have been 10. So I'm glad I found it when I found it.
That's amazing. And share, with listeners, what led you here? Because you've expressed to me on a few occasions your story, and it's really impactful in terms of I think of dominoes that kind of tipped over that led you to where you are today. And so please share.
Yeah.
And
So
before you even do that, Jay, I want to first say, because I want to thank you for your service, because you used to serve in the military, and
Yeah.
so you might touch on that. And at the time of this recording, while it might air a little bit later, it's close to Remembrance Day in Canada, and I know Veterans Day in the United States, and so some of that actually does formulate a bit of your story, which I'm sure you'll get into. And so first off, I just want to be the first one to say thank you for your service.
Richard, I do appreciate you talking about my veteran service. My military service does impact a lot of my story. So really what it boils down to for me is when I got out of the military service, my mind started to shift from other people controlling my life. In the military, you have people who control where you live, when you eat, when you sleep, all of that. And getting out of the military, I had to go through this program to kind of figure out how to start doing civilian life again. And so that was a really big eye opener for me, as well as starting to rethink my thinking. And Nelson talks about that really, really heavily in his book, is constantly reevaluating your thinking when it comes to everything you do. So that is one big leap I had when it came to finances when I was getting out of the military. But I'm going to take us back a little bit. And my financial journey really started when I was getting out of high school, going into college. One of the things my dad told me was, you need to build your credit. You need to get a credit card. You need to do all these things. And because he was my father, I believed him. I was like, those are the things that I need to do to become financially stable in this world. So I started doing that. But I feel that is something that was a partial truth. I didn't get the whole truth. And so I acted on that partial truth for a large majority of my life. I went through college. I went through 2 years of college before I joined the military, starting to realize that going to college really wasn't for me. And so after I dropped out of my college and went to the military, I started to really find myself and find out where I wanted to be. And I don't think I really found that until after I got out of the military. But the military was one of those things that really started to help me find out what I wanted to be, what I wanted to do when I grew up, right? Going back to when I was getting out of the military, one of the things that was a catalyst for me is going through the program to get out. They start having you look at budgets. They start having you look at how to control your finances so that when you get out, you can start off with 2 feet flat on the ground moving forward. And I remember vividly going through my budget and really putting everything on paper. And I realized I made $20,000 a year as a E4 in the military, and I owed $40,000. That weight just hit me, and I was like, okay, well, I have a couple decisions to make. Do I stay in the military and in an environment where I'm not very comfortable, I'm miserable most of the time, or do I get out and figure it out? And for me, it was, the Lord, my Heavenly Father, helping me make that decision to say, I've got something better for you. I just didn't know what it was at the time. So I took the leap of faith, got out of the military, had great income moving from the military to civilian government service. It was a really great transfer. I got really great income out of it. And that helped me start the journey of finances. That was a 5-year journey. And when I started that journey, I told myself that I was going to pay off all of my debt. I had a plan. I had a plan to do that. And I did it within probably about a year and a half. $40,000 paid it off within a year and a half. And in doing that, I realized that all I had to do to complete a task was to put my mind to it. Going back to Nelson's rethinking your thinking, always putting your mind first and telling yourself you can do this and putting little steps along the way so you can see consistent wins. I believe most people see that they can do this, but it's the consistent wins that most people fail at. They try and get too big of a task and they build up all this momentum and then they get to the top and they get discouraged and they fall back. So for me, it was putting those little consistent wins that propelled me to actually getting it complete. And that was the beginning of my journey when it came to finances. I knew at that point I wanted to do something with finances. I believe God put on my heart that I needed to do something with finances. I still at the time didn't know what it was yet. Fast forward, my wife and I moved to Tennessee, and that was a new start for us. It was a complete start over, new jobs, new everything. And I said, I want to get into finances. I don't know how, I don't know where. I want to get into it. Started working for an insurance company. I'm not going to name names, but that insurance company, I realized after 3 months of working for them that they didn't fit who I was looking to become. They wanted to sell a product, and it was all product focused. It had nothing to do with the client. And I felt that from the get-go. And I was saying, well, I'm just going to be different. I'm going to be different. But every time we would have our Monday morning meetings, they were like, well, why aren't you doing it the way that's supposed to make you money? And I said, because doing it the way you guys are teaching it is going to sell something to the client that they don't need. And it wasn't a great fit. So they ended up firing me for it, which was the blessing that I needed. Because in doing that, I found my business partner, Kurt Berry, who taught me infinite banking concept. And that's where my journey starts when it comes to infinite banking. I went to my first think tank in 2024. And from that think tank is when I met you, Jayson, Richard, and sitting in that room of people that Nelson had brought together from his teachings, I felt at home. I felt around a group of people who were all about wanting to serve others. And I knew instantly that I was where I was supposed to be.
That's incredible.
Okay, so you want to keep the wealth in the family. I get it. I hear you. Me too. That's why we wrote this book, Don't Spread the Wealth. Everyone tells you that you want to spread the money, spread the wealth around. No. You don't want to do that. You want to keep the money in the family with the people you love and care about where it belongs for as many generations as possible. That's what we talk about in this book. In this book, we have an incredible 15-page bonus you can download, which instructs you on how to start the conversation with your family on annual family banking meetings, how to host them, some sample exercises, and a sample agenda, tons of amazing, great benefits. Go ahead, get a copy right now. Head on over to Don't Spread Wealth. That's don'tspreadwealth.com. Don'tspreadwealth.com. You're going to love it.
And can you reflect back to a specific moment where the infinite banking concept really clicked for you? Like when you thought, okay, I need to not only do this for myself, but I obviously your heart was to help people. But can you think of the specific moment when IBC just really clicked for you?
So I hadn't read the book yet. I was sitting in Kurt's office, who became my mentor. He was an IBC practitioner, and he said, "I need to show you this." So he had this presentation. It was called the Ultimate CD, and it compared infinite banking to a CD, but it was the perfect CD. So if you could create a perfect CD at the traditional bank, and it had these features, and at the end of it, the kicker was, okay, this isn't, and no bank would give this product. It would be outlandish, but all of the features that we just talked about are in a different tool, and it's whole life insurance. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I want more. And he's like, well, I don't typically don't go any further. And I'm like, no, go further. Come on, I need to know more about this. And he's like, okay. So he pulled up another presentation, and it was a diagram where he showed the way people we use money goes in the traditional bank, and then once we spend it, it's gone forever. And he said, well, what if you could set up your own personalized banking system? I'm like, oh, I never thought of that before. And then he showed an example about how using your own personalized banking system with a little bit of value in it, you can pay your mortgage. And then by you doing it that way, yes, you added a step or two in the process, but you're actually getting growth on your capital at this time. And I'm like, wait. You're telling me that I could do this now? I don't have to have a lot of money? Yes, absolutely. At that point, he's like, this is what the infinite banking concept's about. It's not about any tools. It's about controlling the process of your cash flow. And at that point, it like Nelson said, it hit me like a 2x4 across the face. It was just how, who, and when. How can I get to the closest mountaintop that I can get a megaphone and scream this to the masses to say, you guys need to understand this concept? I don't even know it yet, but I know enough that this is what everybody needs to be doing. So yeah, there's a specific moment, and I'll never forget that moment.
That is awesome.
Yeah, very cool. Well, it's interesting to hear and reflect on your journey, and of course, having a debt situation, smashing it, being focused. So there's a lot of key lessons in all that. But knowing at your heart of heart that you wanted to be around, be in an environment where you could help people and that you could be of service. And so here you are able to do both of those things. But going through the motions of aligning with a company to figure out that it wasn't a fit made it a lot easier for you to start to feel like where a fit might be. And I think that there's a big difference between what you said about, ABC insurance company versus when you attended that first think tank, you got connected with Kurt and you started to really recognize something different. So I want to go back to that think tank experience. There's obviously a palpable feeling in the room that you've felt connected to. What else came up for you at that think tank? Was it any specific conversations? Was there, what else do you reflecting back on that really started to connect you more and more to the community of people who help support this message?
The main things that came up for me is starting to make connections, like you were just saying, with people. So making connections with you, with Jayson. I was already starting, before I went to the think tank, to listen to others in the community. And I was listening to some podcasts, and I started to realize that these people that I was listening to and talking to, or listening to, I could talk to now. They were here, they were in the room. They weren't just a figurehead. They were actually real people. And so I tried to make those relationships, because I knew that this concept isn't something that I can just do. Yes, I can read Nelson's book, Becoming Your Own Banker. Yes, I can implement the process, but then I have to go back to the real world. And then I start getting inundated with my brother-in-law or my sister or somebody else who's not doing the concept. And they're like, dude, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? Like, why life insurance, this and that? And for me, it gets really, it's draining when you're not constantly surrounded by people who are like-minded and doing what you're doing. And so what really I took away from the NNI just everything that I got at the think tank was that I need to come back to home and I need to create that same environment. Because if I can create that same environment, I can start to instead of other people pulling me to their bubble of influence, I can start pulling people to my bubble of influence and start helping them actually understand the true cost of money.
That is awesome. And so now that you're getting into momentum and working alongside some really great teammates, what do you see as your role in helping to share this message across America?
When I first started, one of the things that I realized is I have the ability to reach out to a certain demographic of people.
Mm-hmm.
Skin color doesn't matter. None of that matters. Just a certain demographic of people. My business partner, Kurt, he has the ability to reach out to a certain demographic of people. Richard's going to have a certain demographic of people that he reaches to well. You're going to have a
Usually they
perspective
don't
that-
like the government.
Yeah, which we agree on. Anyway, I started to realize that it takes a community to get this message to the 10% as the Nelson Nash Institute wants to, and I can't do it alone. So I really want to do a couple things. Right now, I've been talking to you, Jayson, about potentially writing a book.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have my message be something that's genuine, but I want to bring it back to the basics of Nelson's message of just making this super, super simple. Because I really feel like the traditional way of financing, when you start thinking about infinite banking, it's not rethinking your thinking, it's mixing your thinking, and it just gets really, really muddled and confused for most people. So I just want to bring it back to really, really simple. And how can I streamline the message so that people can grasp it like I did? And I get it. Some people, it may take you 6 months, 8 months, a year to really start to continue to read through the material and pick it up. But when you get it, I cannot wait to see more people have that light bulb moment of saying, oh, that's what it's about.
Very cool. Very cool. And Nelson would be proud to hear that. And
Yeah.
he would add and say that he would encourage you to teach it, because that's one of the best ways to really internalize the simplicity of the infinite
Yeah.
banking concept is to teach it. Isn't that good?
Absolutely.
Well, and I think there's a number of great things about obviously the journey so far for you. You've done a lot in progressing quickly. And I know in conversations we've had in the past, and certainly even other members of the team, there's an element of capacity where there's certain things you can do at a measure of speed, maybe where Jayson and I might not have had that. I might have wanted to go fast, but we didn't have all the platform components to make fast possible. And you're really able to step into existing resources and knowledge base and a lot of coaching. So I'm curious, when shifting in and kind of becoming part of the Ascendant team, what are some of the things that really resonated and stuck out for you about how that was going to help you move forward the way that you wanted to serve people?
I'd take it back to when I was starting with Kurt. We were doing everything by word of mouth. So I had to go out, boots on the ground, go to all these events, meet people, get my name out there, and it worked. And I found that I was actually a really good communicator in that. But I only can meet so many people. But with Ascendant, what I've been able to do is I still have my boots on the ground. I still am able to, do webinars and stuff like that with you guys. But I can reach a wider audience. Stepping in and tapping into the resources that you guys have already created has given me the ability to spread the message even further, but at the same time, still have that same genuine and that same level of, service. It's because at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with any product that's out there. It's all about just being genuine with the client and saying, hey, all I want to do is help you rethink your thinking. But remember, I am responsible to you. not for you.
How would you like to see a 91-year case study that we put together to explain how this infinite banking thing can work for a family over 2 generations? Well, you know what? Real easy to do that. We have that right in our second book, Cash Follows the Leader. You can get a copy for free delivered right to your inbox. Head on over to cashfollows.com. That's cashfollows.com and pick up a copy right now.
Oh, Chey. Yes. Yeah. That just lit me up there. I love that. And you know, what's interesting, if I think back to when we said, oh, okay, you know, we're operationalized in the sense that we're ready to kind of get into, meeting with, you know, prospects. And the first week when we turn the tap on just a little bit, you know, when you turn a tap on and you get just a tiny drizzle, like, okay, let's just see what happens. And it was like 9 leads that week. Then it went from there to 16. Then it went from there to 240.
Yeah.
And the team was like, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
you know, we're getting bombarded with leads. And so, there's a hunger for, especially in America, where people are saying, look, there's something fundamentally wrong with the financial system. And there's a hunger for solutions. And as you know, if we just lead in the marketplace in a solution-oriented way, unless they understand the problem, the solution just won't matter. And so the volume of leads that are flowing into our ecosystem now are coming into the ecosystem knowing that unless you understand the problem, the solution just won't matter to you. And that is, I think, one of many elements that's kind of, you know, making us undeniably unique, because people are telling us it's just different. I'm seeing and hearing messaging around the infinite banking concept, but the way that Ascendant is showing up is just it just feels different to these prospects.
Well, this is exactly why I wanted to join Ascendant. When I got the opportunity, when you guys came to Kurt and said, "Hey, we want to, you know, you guys to, you know, be our next arm here in the States," I was like, "Man, this is such a wonderful opportunity." And this goes back to, you know, my faith. It's when I initially started my financial journey, you know, the Lord said, "I got something prepared for you." I didn't even know it was going to be something this big. And then the opportunity came to work with you guys. And I'm like, wow, I did not know you had it that big of preparation, but I'm ready for whatever, you know, you guys got. And so I got the opportunity to meet you guys and work with you guys. And I feel that the reason why the clientele that come in, I don't have to go out and do as much work to get a client to clarity. Whereas when I was boots on the ground doing things on my own, I felt like I had to do a lot more teaching, right? I want to teach, but I'd rather coach. And it felt like I had to do a lot of teaching and explaining, as opposed to now when I'm meeting somebody who's gone through our ecosystem, they've watched a few videos already, they may have already read Nelson's book. They're asking more questions along the lines of, you know, how do I get started? Whereas I can come in and say, okay, before we get started, I want to understand your mindset around how you see money first.
Right.
Because instead of me now going in and teaching them, well, how does life insurance work? And how does, you know, what is it like? None of that matters. It's your thinking. And so now I get to lead with a way of helping them start to rethink their thinking so that they can implement this concept, and it won't be 2-3 years down the road we're like, why am I still doing this? Because it's not product focused at that point. It's all about mindset.
100%. Very well said.
Well, speaking of mindset, we talked a little bit about the think tank that you've been to, and so you've actually attended 2 think tanks at this point now, and you've also been one of the first to attend the coaching academy that's put on by the Nelson Nash Institute. So
Yes.
we get to spend some quality time together there at one of the coaching academies channel. Really curious if you can share for our listeners, because we also have a lot of great, amazing advisors and people who watch our program and are, whether they're with the Nelson Nash Institute or perhaps they're not, they may not even know that program exists. So could you share a little bit about your experience attending that, and how did that help you maybe get some additional clarity, but also momentum built up for your business?
I'll say when I went to the coaching academy, I was able to meet with a lot of the people that have been in and inundated with the infinite banking concept since its inception, like Mary Jo and Tim and Ryan Griggs and a lot of people who were able to help me start to refocus my thinking around infinite banking. I'm going to take it back to when I first started infinite banking. It's really easy to sensationalize this message.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can use it to buy your cars and get rich buying cars and all of that. And I found myself doing all of those things. But I sit down in this room of people who have such a vast knowledge and a heart to want to help more people understand this concept at its foundational level. I felt like I was getting so much information that was completely backwards from my thinking. And I'm like, wow, everything that I knew about infinite banking, I sit down in this room and I come out with a whole new mindset of, okay, I need to stop teaching it this way. I need to start teaching it this way, because all I'm doing is confusing the average everyday person when they think about infinite banking. So I myself haven't gone to another one of those events yet, but I need to start going to more of them, because it just drives more of a desire for me to make sure that the message that I'm bringing to the public is the correct message that Nelson was trying to make sure that people understand.
That's very good. And
Love that.
I would, because I'm always curious in speaking with not only teammates, but people who are practitioners doing great work, across the country. And maybe you've thought about this, like what excites you most about where, we're taking this movement and where it's headed over the next 5 years?
The main thing that I am super, super excited about is when I get to sit in a room with a client or multiple clients and the light bulb goes off and they come back to me, a week or two later and say, Chey, I've been talking to this up to so and so and so and so and so and so, and you've just changed my life. At that point, it has nothing to do with me. At that point, it has everything to do with that person is going to be the next superhero in their family. That person right there is going to change their family trajectory. And I felt like that was me when I was sitting in that room with Kurt and I got the 2x4 across the face. I cannot wait for that to happen for others. So the trajectory that we're on, that just excites me that much more, that I'm going to be able to reach more and more people. And will everybody grasp it? No. Infinite banking is not for everybody.
Right.
Infinite banking is for the people who have the desire to want to rethink their thinking. So this just gives me that much more opportunity to reach those people that are ready for a change, just like I was when I sat in that chair.
We want you to understand the 5 strategies that you can use to reduce taxes now and in the future. In fact, we wrote about them in our book, Keep Taxes Away from Your Wealth. You can get a copy of Keep Taxes Away from Your Wealth by going to keeptaxesaway.com. That's keeptaxesaway.com. Ease on over there, get a copy today.
It's interesting you mentioned that too, because you were ready and you didn't even realize you were ready. You maybe in the background you had some slight feeling that you were ready. You were looking for something, but a lot of people don't even know they're ready until they are ready. And we have people that enter our ecosystem, as Jayson had indicated, and you've maybe even communicated with some of them. They've heard about the concept, or they see a video on the Instagrammies or one of these things, and it creates some intrigue and they want to know more. But then they forget that they even want to know more because they get distracted by the next Instagrammy that shows up on their screen. That happens. Hey, I'm a squirrel too. I see things. I get distracted like a lot of other people do. Jayson can certainly attest to that. What is interesting though is sometimes we'll have people who have entered our system and they're getting communication through some emails, some follow-ups, some reach outs, some touch points, text message, that sort of thing. Or they get an invitation to a live webinar And they're like, oh, well, that topic sounds interesting. And then they attend and it's like, oh wow, I'd completely forgotten about this. But
Mhm.
you never know what's going to be the domino effect for someone. And it's really astonishing. And Jayson and I, we've often had conversations, just, we have our one-on-one check-ins every once in a while. And we'll tell a story about, hey, do you remember so-and-so that came to an event that we did 10 years ago or 5 years ago? Oh yeah, I kind of remember that guy. And we're like, well, yeah, well, he reached back out again. He wants to move forward with the process. And it could have been 2 years, 5 years, 8 years of time marinating, and like, well, why do you put marinate around a steak and a piece of meat and put it in the fridge and leave it for a while in a sealed bag? Well, it's because you want to get as much of that flavor filled into it as you can. So when you go to cook it, and the reality is that's what's happening with some people when they discover this. But there is one key element. Once you have learned that the concept exists, that it's out there, it's very difficult to unlearn that. You may not know everything about it. You may not know if it's something you want to do. But once you know of its existence, it's very difficult to unlearn. Unlearning is twice as hard as learning something new.
Yep.
That
Yeah.
is so true. And Chey, you're going to experience this often throughout your journey. Exactly what Richard described. We
No, I've
never give
already,
up on a lead.
yeah, I've already, so I'll give you a quick example, Jayson. I had a conversation with a lady, was it today's Friday, Tuesday, and I've been calling her since May. It's November. I didn't get her. She didn't answer any of my calls, emails, nothing. But I was like, I'm gonna give it one more try. She answered,
Wow.
and now we're in the process of potentially doing an application for her. So
There you
it's
go.
just, you're right. You never give up on a lead, and I've actually been, thinking about, since I came back from vacation. I've been thinking about, how can I spend this you know, last quarter of the year, if that, reaching out to those people who I hadn't been able to get a hold of, because there may be 2, 3, 4, 5 more diamonds in the rough that are ready to go, but they just haven't been able to connect, and they've been ready. So that's something I've been thinking a lot about my practice, and how I'm making sure that the people that are in my circle of influence right now, and the people that are coming through my system, that I'm not forgetting about them. I know our systems are constantly reaching out to them, but it's still on me to give that little, hey, I'm still here. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, kind of deal. So I've been thinking a lot about that.
Oh man, that's the right thing to be thinking about. And I think listeners and viewers would really benefit from knowing, like, what would you say, your process is when you meet someone for the first time and they're curious about the infinite banking concept, but they're a little overwhelmed. What's your process?
My first go-to is to try and get the book in their hands.
Yeah.
Because when I learned about this, it was the first thing I wanted to do. The first thing I actually did was I went and watched Nelson's video, and then realized that hour-long video was even more confirmation for me that this is something I needed to do. But once I watched a video and got that extra little confirmation, I went and directly bought Nelson's book, Becoming Your Own Banker, so that I could start taking the education for myself. Because it's one thing to hear somebody say it, but it's another to start formulating your own thoughts on what you're reading. Right. I feel that a lot of that is missed in our today's society. We just listen, hear, and take it for face value. Whereas for me, I said, yeah, okay, this sounds a little too good to be true. Let me go do a little bit further research. And I feel a lot of people may feel that way, may feel that this is too good to be true. And I say, if you feel that that is the case for you, that this is just too good to be true, dive deeper.
Mm.
Go one more layer deeper and start formulating your own thoughts on what this concept can do for you and your family. And that's where I step in as a coach, is to help you start rethinking your thinking, because I'm going to come in and ask you questions to help your thinking.
Mm.
But until we sit down, you may have all these questions, but you may not have somebody to get the answers to your questions. And that's where I come in as a coach.
Rich is
Okay.
hamster spinning.
when you think about the meetings that you've had and the people you've already been serving, what is it that you find is currently happening with people at this time? What is it? What is the common element around why they're exploring this in the first place that you're discovering?
Finding that most people have an uncertainty of what's to come. They're uncertain about the financial state of the world. They're uncertain about the what the government is doing. They're uncertain about X, Y, and Z. There's uncertainty in the air, and most people feel that they don't realize it. And I guess I didn't even realize it until I said it. There's only one commodity in this world. That's time. And yet we trade that time for a fictitious piece of paper that is only valued based on what the market does. So most people are like, well, I'm trading I'm trading my time for this money that keeps going down in value, but everything keeps getting more expensive. How do I get my dollar to go further? And so when people come in, they're like, man, I want this investment. I want this investment. I said, I'm sorry, but your thinking is misaligned. Let's get your thinking realigned to what's true so that you can understand how to get your money to go further. But until we get your thinking correct, there's nothing I can do to help. Right? Because like I said again, Jayson, and this I got this from you, I'm responsible to you, not for you. So you have some homework to do as my client, as my prospect. I'm going to expect you to do the homework. And until you do the homework, I can't truly help you, because we're going to sit in a meeting and we're going to have answers. I'm going to answer questions that are in this book. You've already had the opportunity to learn it and start to digest it for yourself, but then we're going to come and waste time and rehash things that you could have already understood.
Very good. Very good. And I think Rich would absolutely agree. I know all of our teammates do. I mean, Chey is he's just a great teammate. He just shows up with the right heart to serve people and to help them by actually helping them. And Chey, one of the things that we love to do is a rapid fire. It's and Rich, we started this on with our last guest, and Rich was like, I bet you this is something we're going to be doing going forward. And so I want to run 10 quick questions by you, and let's see where this goes. This will give listeners and viewers a bit of a deeper glimpse into Chey.
By the way, Jayson, you just inspired me. We'll need to record a separate video with Nelson's high school exit exam.
Oh yeah.
Remember the 10 questions on the high school exit exam that he did?
100%. Yeah.
We'll have to do that, and we'll make it a poll on the Wealth on Main Street channel so that people will see how many people can get the exit exam that Nelson did. It was always a blast every time he did it in a live event. So
I love that idea. And for listeners who wouldn't know what that is, you're in for a real treat. It's going to be amazing. Chey, are you all set?
I'm ready to go. Let's go, Jay.
Okay. Number 1, coffee or energy drink?
Coffee.
Number 2, early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Number 3, first thing you do when you wake up?
I let my dogs out. I'm going to go sit on my front porch.
Okay. Number 4, last.
Who let the dogs out? It was Chey.
It was Chey. We know who it is now.
People have been asking for almost 30 years. We finally figured it out.
Okay. Number 4, last thing you Googled?
Oh, last thing I Googled. How to it's a computer application. I was trying to upload a computer application to my computer, so I didn't know how to do it. So I went on Google to search how to upload.
Got it. Okay, number 5, favorite guilty pleasure purchase?
It was a car that I actually unfortunately just had to sell. It was a 2018 Subaru STI. I absolutely love that car. It had like 36,000 miles on it. Yeah.
Okay.
I miss it.
Number 6, one word your friends would use to describe you?
Honest.
Okay. Number 7, most used app on your phone?
Unfortunately, actually, it's my Libby app. Actually, I do a lot of reading. I suck at I take too long to read a book, so I just listen to them.
Okay. That's your preferred method of learning. That's awesome. Number 8, dream vacation spot.
Japan.
Wow. Okay. That is awesome. 2 more to go. Number 9, most overrated money advice you've ever heard.
Overrated. Go out and get a credit card. Those things are the devil.
Okay. And last but not least, maybe our editing team can put a drum roll in here. All right. Jay, what's your personal motto in 5 words or less?
Trust in God. Is it?
Love it.
Beauty.
That was great. Rich, take us home.
Fantastic. Okay, you have been on the program with us before, which is great. But this is the first time where we've had a chance to showcase you and your story and what it means to you to be teaching this concept, Nelson's concept, into the world. And while I imagine it was probably not part of your military attire, unless you needed it for certain camouflage requirements, cape really doesn't show up a whole lot in that environment, despite all the work you did there. But when you're showing up for families, the way you've described, the way that you want to, you're really making a drastic difference in their lives. And what we're talking about with Nelson's concept is not only life changing, it's generationally changing if done correctly and educated properly to the next generation. Who is it that you most want to be a hero to?
Well, I don't have any kids yet, and they're on the docket for sure. I really just want to be a hero to my family. I feel like I've been reaching out to my family a lot and trying to give them a little bit of financial wisdom, and it feels like I haven't been truly taken seriously because I'm the youngest in the family at the moment. So I feel like I really want to make an impact on my family and see if I can help them achieve their goals just as much as I'm looking to achieve my goals.
Again, another sharp example of why you're such a great teammate. And for all our listeners and viewers, if you heard something from Chey today that that stirred something in you, don't ignore it. Reach out, start a conversation. Just take that first step. One that serves you and serves your family. And Chey, thank you for being a great teammate. You're definitely proof that leadership has absolutely nothing to do with titles. It's about committing to a standard and just having that heart to serve the people. And so to everybody listening, stay curious and never forget that your money must reside somewhere, and make sure it resides with purpose. And for those watching on the YouTubes, another video has popped up. That is the algorithm, along with Rich and I's recommendation that you continue your journey of learning. There's no such thing as having arrived in knowledge. There's always something new to learn. And until next time, continue on your journey of discovering the infinite banking concept. Thanks, guys.